All right. Let's see. I'm taking a little bit of stock of who's here. And you might notice who's not here is Rebecca Newbury, who is the co-chair. I'm Fran Ritchie, the other co-chair. I'm an objects conservator for the National Park Service at Harper's Ferry Center. I'm in West Virginia, but I live in Virginia. So today I'll be the one running the show. Rebecca's actually in the air right now, flying to Boston to go to her nephew's graduation, I believe. So, oh yeah, thank you, Tiffany. That's great. If you're not a member of Spinach, sign up there. That's fantastic. Um, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. So what I decided to do is put together a little PowerPoint because I can't help myself. And I thought that a lot of times for these conservation committee meetings, we have a few people who are conservators and preventive conservators and preservation people who know a lot about the resources that are available and out there. But we have several people who are new to this or just like conservation curious or preservation curious. So I wanted to share some of the resources that exist out there that your Spinach members are contributing to. So it might not be necessarily an initiative that like the Spinach Conservation Committee is officially doing, but so many of our members are active in producing things. And I know that I'm not hitting on everything. So this is just kind of a quick like, hey, look and see what's out there. But then also to brainstorm about other things that we can be doing and maybe want to plan for future meetings. So I'm going to share my screen, and I know that that means I don't have another screen I can like project to, so it means that I'm not going to be able to see people or like see the chat during this. So feel free to interject and interrupt me because I'm not going to be able to see like a hand raised or anything. But right before I do that, I did copy a bunch of links that I can put in the chat later or can be copied again and shared again. But these are the websites I'm going to be highlighting and talking about. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen. All right. Yeah, I mean, briefly. Oh, yeah, and I didn't. This is a quick and dirty thing. I did not come on here. Oh, that's interesting. That's not what I want. Okay, I don't know why it's showing in that mode. I'm just going to keep it like this instead of doing some troubleshooting. So this is, yeah, a really quick and dirty thing that I just put together. So the spacing isn't working out or in a lot of these. But anyway, so here are my.
Yeah, we're not seeing your screen.
Oh, no. Okay, it went away. Thank you for telling me.
Sure.
We're good. We see it.
Okay. It's weird that it's wanting to do it in like these presenter notes.
We don't see it as presenter notes. We see it as the presentation, Fran. You're fine.
Oh, thank you. You know what? This is the first time that I've done this from my work setup. And it's actually working out a lot better than at home. That's good to know. Okay, thanks everybody. So there's the emails for Rebecca and for me. I just put my 2 emails on there because I check both of them. So whatever you feel like using. I want to highlight that based on some feedback that we've gotten at some previous conservation meetings, for this joint meeting, annual meeting that we're having with AIC this year, we really wanted to try to offer some more workshops so that people can have some actual like hands-on opportunities. And even though it was virtual, there was one that was able to have a little bit of a hands-on component. But I just want to highlight, I hope that some of you at least knew that these were happening and existed and saw them. We had one on identification and preservation of archival materials because in a few of the committee meetings, people have asked for more information on what to do with their paper collections and things like archives. We did one on how to label and mark your collections. It was really broad. It was for people in all sectors, so not just natural history museums. And we were able to send out a little kit for people to practice along at home, which I think was in some ways successful, in some ways unsuccessful. But it was neat to like experience that. I've never participated in a workshop that was like that, that had a kit sent. And then there was also the Stressed About Pest, the integrated pest management workshop that was held. So we wanted to have, there was going to be another one on bone conservation. Bethany, you might want to talk about that. That we did, like Bethany and I agreed with her, didn't want to present it as a virtual workshop because it was really important to have those hands-on skills. So we're hoping perhaps that will still happen eventually in the future when we stop having these virtual meetings. But I'd like to take this time then to, if anyone wants to chime in, for the workshop next year, since that will be an international one for me, I'm not sure if I really want to sign up for one. I'm not sure if I 100% if I'll be able to go, but if you all have suggestions on what you would like to see, then maybe I could at least, you know, be the one to poke people and ask if anyone would be interested in presenting a workshop on some kind of conservation related topic. So I'm going to start this by Bethany, do you want to give a little update on the bone workshop? And then after that, if anyone wants to chime in with some suggestions.
Yeah, so I mean, bone workshop is such that it's still scheduled to be happening. When I say bone workshop, a bit of backstory, it's the conservation of osteological collections, and it will include segments of how to identify bone and ivory, how to visually assess these types of collections for damage, and then there'll be a section about cleaning and collections care. And yeah, it's still in the schedule for next year in Edinburgh. But as Jules knows, I'm waiting for some finances so I can attend. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, excellent. That sounds good. So everybody keep an eye out for that. I think that'll be really fantastic. I know Bethany's been planning it for like 2 years now. So, so yeah, it'll be great to finally be able to hold that. Yeah, so anyone have any thoughts? And you can mull over it or put it in the chat and I'll see it later, or email me or something if you think of another type of workshop. I'm gonna have an awkward silent pause in case anyone wants to chime in.
Oh, well, I'd love something on building supports and cradles for large, like fossil mammoths, mastodon bones, that type of thing.
Okay.
And if the bone workshop could also include fossil, subfossil bone, that would be great.
Do you know if Julia Sobalski and the team at AMNH will be ready to do a workshop on feather cleaning?
I don't. That's a great question. I will definitely poke her about that.
I mean, it may be 2 years out because they're still, you know, at that, considering where they're at in their research, but it would be a workshop that I think everyone in Spinach would really appreciate.
Yeah, I would love to see feathers.
Yeah, I'll definitely inquire about that. And you all, if you don't see it for next year, for 2022, then we'll all keep our fingers crossed that it'll be the following year.
For the mammals, for the large supports idea, Tiffany, what do you think about the idea of doing a stash flash session that specifically we can create a focus, so we can ask for it to be on cradles and supports? So it's not actually a workshop, but it's part of the meeting.
Yeah.
Would you rather see it as a workshop where you get a chance to try out carving things and making things?
Well, you know, I mean, that's a sort of difficult thing to maybe do as a workshop because of the size of the stuff. So maybe it's something that you could do with a sort of, yeah, I don't know.
I may interject with this. I think there is a lot of overlap with the Association for Materials and Methods in Paleontology in this sense, because fossil preparators deal with housing of ginormous and extremely heavy things, and there are already some things on their YouTube channel, for example. So I think it's a good collaboration.
Right, Mariana, you're leading on that one then.
Oh, thank you, Bethany.
May I interject quickly? We are probably going to be forced to rehouse some of our mammoth bones before that happens, and I'd be happy to share successes, failures. We hope not to have any, but if that's something, if it turns out to be more of an less of a workshop and more of a in-conference session, I'd be happy to contribute a bit.
Yeah, can you say who's speaking right now since I can't see?
Yeah, hi, this is Katie Cornelli. I'm at the Prehistoric Museum in Price. We have a Columbian mammoth that needs some new supports.
Awesome, yeah, thank you. Okay, that's great.
Maybe not exactly on topic, but I see tomorrow they're going to have a symposium, which I like the title and the idea. A failure shared is not a failure. Learning from our mistakes, which I thought was interesting. Maybe something we could do in the future.
That's a program that started within AIC I think now 3 years ago. This is the 3rd or 4th year, Fran.
I think it's the 4th, yeah.
And it's been really, really wonderful. People have shared a broad range of failures. Some of them have been failures in judgment. Some of them have been treatment failures. Some of them have been rethinking. And I would encourage Spinach to do a session like that, not necessarily based on conservation, but for the whole society. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be able to ask people to reflect on what they would have done differently.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm looking forward to that one. I know they were trying to gather some presenters from the Spinach crowd, but I'm not sure if they were able to do that or not. So I guess we'll see tomorrow. But
they did get Bill Simpson from the Field Museum, who's going to talk about a shelving unit that collapsed for a variety of reasons. So.
Ooh, okay. Looking forward to seeing that. I like that spoiler. Nice. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on because I think we'll be discussing some other things too. But yeah, if anyone thinks of anything else, let me know. Okay, so now I'm moving on, and I'm just going to list a bunch of resources. And if this sparks any interest in something that like we'd want to see, at a future meeting, or if someone wants to work on some things, just interject. A few of us are part of the museumpest.net working group, which is a group that gets together once a year and updates and works on different things for the Museum Pest site. And this is a really great resource to go to if you are looking for more information on integrated pest management. There are different tabs on, how to identify, what to do if you do have an infestation, and how to monitor and things like that. It's been translated into several different languages. And something that you should be aware of is that from the virtual meeting that we had back in March, there were presentations that are now available for free on YouTube. So if you go to this homepage, you'll be able to see that. And I hope that everyone is a member of the PEST list, which is a distribution list. If you need to know about integrated pest management for your institution, that's where you can go to ask people for recommendations or identifications. And there also has some really great social media presence that you can just kind of be involved and share really great photos of things half eaten. And then also to point out Pest Odyssey UK, the 2021 virtual conference that's happening September 20th through 22nd. And I think a few of Spinach members are also highly involved in that, which I can't see if they're on right now, but yeah, I think that'll be a really fantastic virtual thing as well.
Fran, can you talk a bit for Museum Pests about the new Conserve tool to let people know about it?
Oh, yeah. Well, do you want to say it, Lisa? Because you might know more than I do. I know that it's a tool that exists now, but I'm not quite sure where they are in their stages of like rolling it out.
Okay. Conserve, which is spelled like it sounds, like conserve without an E at the end, is a startup company looking to create preventive care solutions, online solutions for collections care professionals. And they recently paired up with Museum Pass, and they created a software that's free that allows you to basically manage your data and your pest data. So it's linked to the images and the identification files in Museum Pass, so you can get help in figuring out what you've got. It allows you to take notes. It uses something called the pest occurrence index, so your numbers are not skewed by how many traps you have in a particular space. And right now it's free, so all you have to do is sign up and you can use it. And it's gotten some rave reviews from pest managers, so that's all I can say.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds really promising.
Yeah.
That's great.
Would you,
Yeah.
would you mind putting a link to this in the chat, please?
I can try. Hold on.
You can do it.
I also, sorry, this is Katie at the Prehistoric Museum again. I've been talking to Melissa King a fair amount, and sort of got onboarded for some of the Conserve software earlier this year. And another thing that they're working on is, so they also do environmental monitoring. They have software that you can use your own loggers, or you can get their loggers, and they're working on combining, sort of collating the environmental data and the pest data, which is something I've been really hoping for and advocating for many years. You know, we have plaster beetles in the middle of the desert. Well, we shouldn't, but obviously we have moisture problems in our walls. So, you know, I think it's going to be a really useful tool going forward, and the more people sort of, I hope Melissa King would agree with me, to a point at least, the more people using it and submitting feedback in the field, the better it will be. So as long as we don't completely overwhelm them, I think the more the merrier.
Yeah, I would say that I'm not as convinced or sold on their environmental monitoring kit at this point. I'm not sure where the analytics are coming from, what the analytics are behind the data they're producing. Whereas for the pest program, it's really obvious. But I am looking forward to being able to link it to link the pest data and the environmental data, because I think that will make it an incredibly powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next one. That's really great though. Thanks for bringing that up, everyone. There is an online community through AIC and FAIC, and it's called the Connecting to Collections Care. It's an online forum. It used to be more like a listserv, but then they moved it onto this platform, and you don't have to be a member of AIC to be part of this. And this is a forum where you can, it's meant for some of the smaller institutions, and if you have questions that are related to preservation and conservation, you can ask, and not only can people chime in with their own experiences, but there's also a list moderator who can help direct those questions to conservators. So that's really nice. And if anyone out there would like to volunteer to be a moderator for a short amount of time, I would imagine they're still looking for volunteers for that. And I always like to point out people to the AIC and FAIC YouTube channel. So you can see tons of free content on there, such as past webinars from the Connecting to Collections Care from all their topics. So that's really good to know. Hopefully everyone on here is aware of the Spinach Wiki page, but if you're not, one cool thing that's been that was put up in the past couple years is a whole section on that fantastic new book on preventive conservation, the updated edition of the collection storage book. So if you don't have one yet at your institution, definitely buy one. But if you want to check out like what all the chapters are about, you can go on there and like read little kind of like introductions to each section. So that's really great. And make sure that you are aware of the best practices site on the Spinach Wiki, and there are tons of them that are listed on there. And if you're interested in coming up with a best practice for a particular area, check on there first to make sure something hasn't already been done. Leading into STASH, I'm glad that you all brought that up a few minutes ago. Make sure that everyone knows about the website, the storage techniques for art, science, and history collections. And that has some really good information for natural history collections. So this is what Lisa was talking about. For several AIC meetings, there were presentations for these storage solutions, and then they were, then put onto the STASH site. So I am liking that idea of like, I mean, maybe we could even have a STASH session at Spinach next year, in addition to a workshop that like might be more specifically for making storage containers and whatnot, and like to practice cutting at the foam and having some tips for that. We just won't construct things that are for mammoth tusks. But yeah, check out that website. I'm always directing people to STASH.
And I need to apologize to everyone. The STASH website is woefully behind, like 2 years, because last year we had a breach and the site had to be rebuilt. And that happened, and I just haven't gotten around to, I haven't gotten my heart back into, adding in the new entries, but I will soon, I promise.
Do you need, would it be possible to have volunteers for that? Or is that something that only one person can do?
We have an editorial committee, so we divide up the entries by, by editors. So that's not a problem. I just need to do the first few to get used to the different ways now of getting into the site, and I need to write up some instructions, and Rachel wanted to do a video as well.
Yeah, that would be nice. And to, of course, talk about the sessions that are happening at this joint meeting. If anyone on this call isn't already registered, you can still register for the meeting because these sessions are going to be, they're recorded and they will be available, I think, up until the end of the calendar year, so for several months. So it makes it worth it even if you're missing it while it's happening right now. And there's on the website for the meeting, there's a resources tab. And on that tab, there are some intro videos to AIC and Spinach as an organization. And then there's a whole tab on that like specifically shows you the Spinach content that's happening right now, which is a really good way to kind of like wrap your brain around it, because there's so much content happening at the joint meeting. So you can see, I just threw on some, there's a session called Rats and Spinach, and Rats is research and technical studies, is that the S? But I just wanted to point out, like, don't forget, like, even though that's a really funky title, that has some really cool talks in there that are listed on the screen. And once again, things will be recorded if you miss them. And of course, we might have Lisa talking in again on this one. I myself am not a member of the materials working group that's been going on for the past couple years. And Rebecca, who is our liaison to that group, although I think she's had to miss several things in the past few months due to some personal kind of emergencies happening in her life. But make sure that you know about on the AIC wiki, there's a whole preventive care section, including that's where a lot of information that's being put out by the materials working group, where that lives and where that's ever evolving. And I'm gonna get back to some things. Let me go another slide, another site, Cameo, Conservation and Art Materials Encyclopedia Online. I believe that the materials working group is behind kind of like spiffing up this site. It's a really good place to look if there is a conservation material that you haven't heard of before. This is the site that I always go to like refresh my memory of what it is, if there's any personal protective equipment that's required to use it, or what you typically use it on. So that's a really good one to have in your back pocket. And then if you want to know more about what's happening with the materials working group, there was a pre-session little talk that happened, and then I don't know if it was the same one or different one, but it has the same title that occurred in the concurrent general session. So one was on May 6th and one was on May 12th. So you can access those recordings. And then there was also really cool, they've been doing round robins where they've been sending out materials for different places to do Audi testing on. And they're all doing the same protocols. And then they're comparing what people get to see how effective and maybe accurate these Audi tests are, and then putting that information on the wiki page as well. So there's a really cool talk about that that happened on May 12th. So you can access that recording as well. And that's all that I have. I know we only have 3 minutes left, but if anyone wants to say anything else in those final minutes.
I had something real quick. Hi, it's Mark Grenchkowski from the MCZ at Harvard. I've been a super dormant member of this committee for a long time, and I apologize for that. But I am looking to get more involved. So when I first joined in, I know there's some paleo folks here, but just wanted to introduce myself, and if there's any way I can contribute on conservation levels, specifically to paleontology. I've been doing it for a while, and know lots about B72 and crazy things like that. So I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And if anyone else wants to introduce themselves too, I think that would be a good thing to do right now.
I also wanted to just comment on what's on the chat. Someone brought up the idea of you and Julia doing the taxidermy workshop in Edinburgh. And I think that's a phenomenal idea, because that just doing it across the ocean means that we'd be talking about different kinds of techniques, tools, solutions than we usually talk about here. So I think that would be a great opportunity. And I'd like to encourage you and Julia to do that.
That sounds good. Lisa, you're always encouraging things. I like it.
No,
Yeah, so, oh, sorry, go ahead, Tiffany.
Well, I was just going to ask a quick question for thinking about coming up. How are all the freelance conservators doing with in the pandemic, and how can we help them in the future?
Well, I'm freelance, and there have been a number of, I'm Lisa Goldberg, and my picture isn't up, sorry. Some of them are suffering quite a bit. There have been a number of government initiatives that have helped small businesses. Some of us are too small to really apply for those. I think work is picking up. A number of conservators have reported being actually way too busy because people are taking care of things in their closets that they've been thinking about for a long time. It's mixed, and I know AIC is applying to the NEH for a grant that will hopefully help private conservators, and I'm not sure what else to add. Anyone else?
I have to go to another meeting, but I really wanted to add really quickly about the possibility of thinking about like something related to, doing certain workshops across the pond and things like that, thinking about doing certain workshops in different languages for people who do not have English as their first language, and also consider the issues of lack of supplies and materials that we normally use in conservation that may not be available in other countries of the world. Thank you so much for this meeting. I gotta run.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. But yeah, we only signed up for a half an hour, so we are technically over now. But please, if this has gotten your creative juices flowing, definitely email out, and I will put together a little email chain using the people who signed up in this Google Doc. So thank you so much, and thank you to our tech people, Greg, and then the assistant tech, Paul.